Hey, Dustin K, how you doing, man?
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I was just checking out your website before we recorded. You got everything right. I'm going to show it in a bit, but I talked to a lot of indie filmmakers. You got to have all the info, the movie, the trailer. Where can I get it? Keep it simple.
Nice. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah.
So congrats on getting the marketing.
Step one, the website's good. Now,
Step one.
Hopefully the movie's good too.
Well, tell me about the movie.
Yeah, well, it's I used to live in that building, and it's about different residents of this building in Brooklyn, kind of told in parts, right? So one is Samantha in 3A, one's Sean in 2B. So each one has their own individual story, but the stories build off each other. So there's a nice kind of emotional arc kind of throughout the whole thing. But it all started from I was reading this book, Life a User's Manual. This French guy, Georges Perec.
I've heard of that book.
Yeah. So it's all about this like Parisian apartment in like 1880 or something, and it was also like around the same time that High Maintenance came out as like the because it started as a web series and it was like an anthology, and so I kind of married those two things where I was like I like this idea of different residents, and then as I started the writing process, then it really was like, oh, I do like, instead of like a true anthology, which is just this little story, this little story, this little story, I liked how it all kind of like intertwined together and then kind of created this like larger narrative, and so it works better as a feature film than a true anthology would. But yeah, so that was the original impetus for the movie.
So obviously based on some real experiences.
Well, yeah. So, as with anything, right? Like you're inspired by certain things, right? And then you just kind of turn up the volume and the, comedy elements of it. But I mean, there's one resident who's dealing with a stolen package. And, as a building, we had some stolen package that we were dealing with. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, well, how do you make that like as funny as possible, right? So then it was like, okay, well, here's the thing that gets stolen, and oh, the guy opens it in the lobby, and so it's caught on camera. So it's like this whole thing as to why that becomes really funny. That was one of the inspirations.
Yeah, I've accidentally opened packages that were delivered to me that weren't for me returned them. I think it's happened. Let's take a look at the trailer. I've got the trailer queued up here. Beautiful. So let's see it right now together. Here we go.
Andrew, sorry.
Your ex-girlfriend is moving back into this building? I told you she was crazy.
I am whole. I am crushing it. You mean you're not prepared to tell me about your other boyfriend?
Yeah, and here I was about to suggest that we moved in together.
Who is in our bed? And he's bi.
If I have to spoon feed management like a little baby sucking on my teeth, I will.
Hi, Miss Gaba. Just a minute.
There was a time I delivered baby in lobby.
How many sluts can live in one building?
Things are going well.
Are you two fucking?
I need to hide you.
Do you live in Bushwick? I mean, maybe that could work.
It's getting hot in here. It's getting hot. It's getting...
Just
That went well.
It's funny how many times I've seen that. Like, there's still certain scenes and certain actors that still make me laugh when I hear the line.
How did you go about casting?
You know what? So this was my first project. So I used Breakdown Express to post the different characters, and then from those kind of virtual submissions, I would typically narrow it down to about 10, maybe 20.
I've not heard of that. What's Breakdown Express and what?
So Breakdown Express is a great website where you basically kind of post what the project is. Is it SAG? Is it non-union? You have kind of character descriptions. And then if you think about like Facebook, right, where like actors will have their own profile. And so like they'll see these new projects come up and just submit their profile to this project and this character. And so, I get like 100 submissions for every character. And so then, like looking at headshots and, past experience, then I would typically bring in around 10 for an in-person audition. And then from that, I found the ones that really shined.
Well, because I know casting can get, expensive, and that's like the biggest thing on an indie is really.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I guess I kind of use this project as the way of learning every aspect of filmmaking, right? So it was like from the casting, from the sound editing, color grade. I mean, I kind of did it all. So casting is actually, I mean, if you do it yourself, it's very inexpensive because it's just your time. And and I think there is something to be learned by that in-person audition.
Yeah.
If you're in a location, I mean, I guess now there's so much that's done virtually, and if you could do like a live, as opposed to self-tape, but like a live audition virtually, I'm sure you probably get the same benefits as as the director to like see if they're able to take notes and change their performance slightly, and then certain actors would bring like would change the line slightly, or like we would improv it a little bit, and some lines in the movie were thanks to that actor just bringing something. I was like, oh, like that's really funny, and then bring them on, and the movie becomes that much better.
Yeah, I mean, I having made one narrative feature, it's the casting it can take a long time
for sure.
But modern tools, like you mentioned, virtual audition, all of that. I mean, even some of the biggest Hollywood movies, virtual audition is the sort of first line to get through.
For sure. I mean, yeah, because like, the idea, and I feel for actors, right? Because I mean, it's like, even in New York, I mean, where you have public transportation, but it's, I mean, people are still coming, hour commute, subway, this, that, and the other for, 5-minute, 10-minute interaction. And, like there's only one person I can bring on for each role. So it's a lot of effort, especially if, here for a non-union project. So I think the virtual thing, you should really be implemented, narrow it down to like 2 or 3, and then maybe have those people come in person. But otherwise, I think that's probably the way to go.
Now, they say that production value comes from cast and location.
Yeah.
So I noticed like your location was pretty nice. How'd you secure that?
So I used to live in that building. So one of the apartments was the benefit of having one of the apartments, and then since I kind of lived in the building, I knew other people in the building, and paid them a couple $100 to rent the place, and kind of filmed in the like the common areas without too much trouble. I mean, fortunately, because it was a very young it was very kind of like young, cool residents, because it was like a new building that opened up in Williamsburg, and kind of like this partly edgier part of town, and so it was just kind of like a cool it was like cool people that lived there, which made it that much easier.
Yeah. Well, now making the movie is half the battle.
Yeah.
Releasing, getting distribution, that's an entirely whole other battle. How did you get here to getting the film released? Because it sounds like you made a very tight indie in terms of that aspect. Getting it released, very different. How did that come together?
Yeah, it's very interesting. This is my first time kind of going through this process. So I went to AFM, so the American Film Market. It was funny, right? So I moved to Santa Monica. Normally it's here, but last year it was in Las Vegas. So I moved here, and then I was like, oh, I'm like, now I have to go to Vegas. Great. And so I was in Vegas, and then fortunately my friend introduced me to somebody who makes a lot of kind of low budget indie movies, has a distributor. And so I met with him at AFM. He watched the movie, liked the movie, introduced me to, this, I would imagine a smaller distributor called All Channel Films. Got in touch with them. They liked the movie. So then they were able to like submit it to all the different platforms. And then, yeah, I mean, it's been picked up by a bunch of them. I'm still the jury's still out, right? Because a lot of these, it's all that kind of ad supported platforms, right? So Tubi, Plex,
right?
Amazon Prime, right? And so the real question, you know, in terms of the sustainability of this type of filmmaking is like, well, what does that actually translate to? You know, so I mean, hypothetically, let's say we are successful and, you know, word of mouth kind of builds and people actually watch it because, you know, I do think it's a good movie. But what does that translate to, right, in terms of the ad-supported platforms? And
well, here we are on the website, pleasantlysurprised.tv. It shows you where you can see it, where it's streaming everywhere. You've got links with info, videos, whatnot. Like, I mean, that's really helpful. I mean, did you go to film school?
I didn't. You know, there was a couple of classes I took. I took a directing class in New York. I took an acting class, which I, you know, half participated in. And then, you know, there was a lot of kind of, you know, these like, what was the DP's name? Oh, I forget. He did one of the Terminator movies, but like he, you know, he has like a lot of like workshops and stuff, right? So, you know, I bought some of ththese workshops and, you know, just learned everything. I mean, I could talk about lenses and ISOs and cameras and, you know, and all that fun stuff. So it's all just, you know, self-taught. And then, yeah, I mean, even with the writing, it was like, you know, the first time writing one of like, you know, it's like you have to go through it to learn. It's like, oh yeah, like the first version is going to be garbage and it takes you, you know, a bunch of polishing, you know. So I'm less concerned when I start writing something now and it starts out not good. It's like, oh yeah, it's gonna get there eventually.
Well, I have a friend who's a very successful filmmaker. He says rather than go to film school or like get a graduate degree in film, just make a film. It actually costs the same.
Yeah.
If you make you just make your indie movie, you spend the money, you make it, whether it makes money or not, doesn't matter. You've spent less getting a film made and learning as you go than you would have if you just went to film school, paid the tuition, paid for all the classes.
Now, so 100% now there's enough information online where if you are, you know, if you're diligent, you can learn everything yourself. Like the only real benefit of film school would be if you went to the USC for the connections. Other than that, it is a complete kind of waste of money. And my, you know, like my advice is for somebody starting out is like, go make a short film, right? Like go make one short film before you do a feature, because you're going to make a couple mistakes, you're going to learn some things. And then kind of like once you like learn that, then I'd say, well, now just focus on features because there really is no market for short films, right? So it's, you know, the idea of, you know, it's interesting. Like, you know, I see these people who are making like solid short films, but like after that, it's like, well, why are you making another one, right? Because it's like,
right.
You know, at best, you're just going to be doing the film festival, and the chances of you making the thing that's so good at the festival that's going to get you the, you know, I never saw that as a viable path. But again, you know, I'm operating on the periphery myself, so
yeah. Well,
have luck.
Congratulations on the film. The website is pleasantlysurprised.tv. Welcome to 190 Lorimer is on Tubi.
Yeah, so it actually, like right now, it's probably another 2 weeks before it shows up on Tubi. So like they have all the files, but it's taking a little bit. It is live on Amazon Prime. I believe it's live on Roku, but like within the next 2 weeks, it should be live on all of them. It just
by the time people see this, it'll be on everything.
Yeah. So you know, if someone's watching it tomorrow and they're upset that it's not on Tubi yet, hey, just give it another week.
Well, my movie's on Tubi. It's just it's a great way. You know, it's a great platform.
It's a great platform. It's just you know, like they're uploading a lot of film, so it just takes them a little time for it to actually show up.
I know that process well. It's great. Well, Dustin, congratulations on the movie. I wish you great success on the film and your upcoming ventures, and hope to talk to you again.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Next film will be you know, chatting in a year.
All right, take care.
Hey, cheers.
See ya.